Reddit. What fine print has fricked you over? Paying with PayPal. There are many places that when you make a seemingly one-time payment, it authorizes that site to automatically bill you without you having to provide your credentials. A long time ago, I made a purchase from Big Fish Games and paid with PayPal. A week ago, I notice a charge for $1.99 and then an hour later $249.99. Apparently, that single purchase I made years ago authorized Big Fish to automatically process payments without me having to re-enter my username or password. The charges were reversed, but I had $250 tied up from my checking account for almost 2 weeks because of it. You can see what sites are pre-authorized by going to profile, my money, my pre-approved payments. Anything listed there as active can automatically charge you without you logging in or authorizing the charge. Thank you so much for posting this. I just logged back into my own PayPal account and there were a couple of companies in my pre-authorized payments section that definitely shouldn't have been there. Luckily, they didn't make any random charges. When I opened a store in a mall, part of the agreement said that if someone came to the mall for the purpose of going to my store and they had a slip and fall injury, that the mall would charge my business for damages. My lawyer had a good laugh at that, marked it out of the text. The mall accepted the annotated contract. When I was a young and stupid college student, my school sent out notices that for classes we dropped out of in the first week, the reimbursements would no longer go into our bank accounts. They'd go to our school name, one fund. I thought that meant it was not unlike a school lunch account where you could draw funds from for school. Come to find out, nope, it was an actual bank account for an online bank. Being dumb, I signed papers without reading the fine print, and they gave me a card to use. It never worked when I tried to use it, even though it was activated, so I just figured money would sit there until I could move it over to my bank account. Fast forward a year, I dropped out of 2 classes, so there should have been a good amount in the account. When I went to withdraw the funds, I realized there was hardly any money in it. I go back to the papers and realize that the fine print said they would charge a bi-weekly fee of $28 if there was no activity on the account, which there wasn't, because the card would never work. Even though I was young and dumb, I thought it was ridiculous that a school would team up with an online bank like that. I raised a stink with the school and with the bank. They didn't want to give me my money back and said I should have read the fine print and shouldn't have opened the account in the first place. I wrote an email to the governor's office complaining that it should not be legal for a university, which is at least partially publicly funded, to allow online banks to prey on stupid kids like me, and within 3 days the bank reimbursed me all of my money. I withdrew all the money and closed the online bank account. Lesson learned. I suppose I wasn't technically fricked over because my money was reimbursed, but it would have been so helpful to have actually done my research and not assume that a school wouldn't do something like that. TLDR. Emailing the governor got a young, dumb kid her money back. There's a difference between dumb and naive, and you are not dumb. If you agree with this statement, please sign below. By signing below, you agree to give me all your money. HOA contracts. Thank frick I figured it out before I signed, or I would have to pay a $250 fine if my grass was 1 inch too tall. The HOA can suck it. I had maybe 3 weeds in my desert landscaped yard. They proceeded to harass me for days. I had just had surgery and couldn't get outside to deal with it. They sent over a gardener, and 2 weeks later a bill for $100. We paid for a parking space at our old apartment complex and there was fine print about being allowed to tow your car from its space if it was undrivable or something like that, presumably so you couldn't leave some sort of eyesore out front. Well, we woke up one morning to find my husband's car gone and the front desk claiming that it had a flat tire and was therefore towable. It had gone flat sometime after he got home the night before and they had towed it by morning. Then when we went to retrieve it from the towing place, it had been completely ransacked, doors standing wide open and everything including the stereo missing, with rain damage from the doors being open all night and a storm to boot. They told us with a completely straight face that they weren't responsible because it was like that when they picked it up. Yeah, right. I'm sure they towed it with the doors wide open. We talked to some other people with similar complaints and figured that the apartment rental would puncture your tires in the middle of the night, tow you before you could discover it, and get a kickback from the towing place. TLDR. paid for the privilege of having our car stolen. Learned my lesson about fine print. I had a recording contract with Universal Music when I was 16. I was too excited and naive to read every line in the contract and signed a $360 deal, losing the rights to my previously written music and owing them a few $1,000s after a year of working with them. Always have a lawyer look over contracts before signing. What I thought was a dream come true ended up being a crap storm. Edit to provide more information. I learned that the main reason they signed us for that year was because we sounded too similar to one of their upcoming bands and had a growing online following. Their goal was to basically take us off the market for the year to provide less in genre competition for the other band. We ended up owing them for all of our studio time, most of our merchandise costs, and travel expenses for the few terrible shows they put us on. I was 18 and went to sign up at Gold's Gym with a friend who was 17. They asked me to sign on her contract since she wasn't 18. I said, "What am I signing? I'm not gonna be responsible if she doesn't pay or something, right?" They said, "Oh no, nothing like that. Since she is a minor you are just signing that she won't sue you if she hurts herself or something." Okay. I was young and dumb. Whatever. The collection agency a year later proved otherwise. My home was broken into, electronics and jewelry stolen. Only then did I find out the fine print on homeowners insurance. Jewelry is limited to $1,000 total per incident. They told me this while the police were dusting my house for prints. That didn't cover her grandmother's anniversary ring. Never mind stuff I bought her in the Navy while overseas. Get your stuff appraised, get floaters on it. It's cheap per year, and so worth it if something happens. Arced out forms for debit overdraft. If you give a company permission to withdraw funds from a checking account via debt card number on a scheduled basis, for example, Netflix, the company can continue to charge that account despite the account being closed or out of funds, even if you opt out of overdraft protection. I racked up a $160 overdraft fee on an account I was letting run out because I left the bank. When I opened the account I signed a sheet of paper which states the account will not be allowed to overdraft, meaning no money equals no purchase. The fine print says this does not apply scheduled payments. Car insurance. My car was written off so the girls who hit me's insurance gave me some money for that, so I went to look for a new one. The first way my insurance tried to screw me was giving me only 2 weeks to find a new one. New student driver, low budget, hard to find a car. If I didn't find a car in time I had to pay a £1,800 cancellation fee. Luckily I found one. Here's the other thing I didn't read. To put a new car on the insurance I had to pay £150 swap over fee, £80 administration fee, £400 deposit, and here's the kicker. A £50 goodwill fee for the customer service representative to swap over all my details. And on top of that, my monthly payments went up £30 too. This may not seem much to some of you, but it was my first car and I'd saved for so long, and being a student I don't earn much. I was so happy to find a company that would quote me less than £1,300, but I ended up paying way more anyway. Frick cooperative insurance. I have a relative who had a tree land on his roof a while ago during the storms. His insurers have claimed he is the fault party. The rep's reason: we can't blame the tree. I broke my finger a couple years back, and the doctor I went to was out of network. My health insurance plan said in big letters anything after $4,000 deductible was covered 100%. Buried in the text, it's 100% of the allowable amount of eligible expenses, which basically means a fraction of 100%. I was stuck with over $9,000 of extra medical bills. I asked them how I would know how much of a given procedure was covered. They said I would have to call them from the doctor's office, give them the medical code, and they'd tell me how much I'd owe. Then I could decide whether to get treated. TLDR. Health insurance companies are dongs. I was a senior guest service manager in a hotel for over 2 years. I had a perfectly clean record, but I was instantly dismissed for being in the hotel after my shift had finished. Basically, my friend was over from America and staying in the hotel. I went back that evening to collect her to take her out for dinner. I waited in the lobby for her to come down. The next day I was suspended for 2 weeks pending the disciplinary, then instantly dismissed. I recently got a new boss. Quite the bee it turns out. She had been there 2 weeks. Apparently in my contract, being on the hotel premises without permission is considered gross misconduct. So yeah, that fricked me over. Well, she did. Okay, they both did. My first apartment. After 2 years there I went to move. I asked the front desk how it worked. She said when you pay rent next month, ask for 30-day notice, sign it, and you're good to go. Okay, I paid rent on the first like always, got the slip, and signed it. I moved out, cleaned the place like crazy, and then asked for my $750 deposit. Because I signed the slip on the first of a 30-day month, I legally only gave them a 29-day notice, thus I forfeit my deposit. Suckers. That does not mean you forfeit your deposit. Talk to a community advocate for your area. I worked for a construction company. Upon hiring me they gave me a stack of paper 1.5 inches thick as a safety manual. Wanting to look dedicated I flipped it open to a random page and started reading. The first part I come to says if I quit or am fired and do not return said Xeroxed safety manual, there will be financial repercussions. It was a crap company. Found something better in a month. When I quit I handed the stack of paper to my foreman. He looked at me dumbfounded and asked, "You actually read this sucker?" I don't even want to know how many people they screwed with that bit. I'm guessing the fine usually coincided with the amount on the final paycheck. I'm handicapped and use a bus company to get to and from work that has wheelchair accessible lifts. This entire week they've been running late and not coming at the times I'd set up with them. I've been having family take me to and from my job, and yesterday when I didn't call them to tell them I'd found another ride, they cancelled my return ride without notice. I had tried to call them to tell them this on the way there, but the entire time I was on the line with the company they had me on hold. I was still on hold when I'd gotten to my job, so I ended up getting off of the phone and going into work. If I had waited for them to pick me up, I would have been 2 hours late to my job and would have been fired. They said it's standard procedure to cancel rides if customers don't show up, which on a level is kind of understandable. But when they're late I'm still expected to pay them. It costs $8 a day. I'll eventually learn how to drive an adaptive car, but I feel bad for elderly people who have no choice but to use this terrible company. TLDR. Frick you Rover buses for dang near costing me my job. About 6-7 months ago, I was looking for a job, being the typical poor high school kid in the senior year where their parents did not give much pocket money anymore. Unfortunately, I had no idea how to write a resume, so I went on a site called Live Career which helps people format and make their resumes. Good idea, right? Nope. They don't tell you that you need to pay to print until you've already finished the resume. But it was only $3 for a one-time payment, so why not? So I print out maybe 10 copies and I never touch the website again since I can just scan and reprint the resume if I ever needed it again. Now I always had a casual job of walking people's dogs which got me around $40 per week, which I almost always put straight into my bank. But I noticed that I never had enough money for lunches, snacks at school now, let alone for entertainment. This goes on for another 4-5 months before I finally check my banking statement, which gave me the biggest freaking shock of my high school life. Freaking livecareer.com had been taking $54.95 out of my account every month as a recurring payment. They also hid their name by using another alias. So now I'm about $250 short because I got freaking scammed by this scum of a company who advertise one-time payment as recurring because people don't bother to read the receipt on the email, which states on the very bottom in tiny letters, "Recurring payment will incur unless cancelled." Frick me too. I was dumb. But frick you too, Live a Career. I didn't even get a job. The glorious way PayPal deals with overdraft. I bought a song online, which was around $2. I knew I was short on money, but I was pretty sure I still had enough for that song. I paid with PayPal, and it all seemed to go through fine, and I had overdraw protection on my account. So, I thought I had enough money after all. Next day I get an email, blah transaction declined, blah €12 fee. Crap. Well, I already was a little pee off by this, but I plan to just go to the bank next morning and transfer some money to that particular account. Next morning I get there and put more than enough money on my account. I also decided to print the history just to check if everything is fine. Let's just say it took longer than usual to print the history, as I was wondering if the printer is broken. The thing gave me about 6 pieces of paper each with the same text. Your account is overdrawn, and as a working fee we'll take €15 from your account once you have enough money on it. Turns out PayPal tried to get the funds 6 times in that one night, which meant I had to pay nearly €100 fees to the bank, plus the 12 to PayPal. Most expensive song I ever purchased. Luckily, about a month later, I got it all resolved by talking to my bank. We agreed on me only paying the first fee, and I also talked to PayPal, who responded with a generic letter stating that they will analyze the issue blah blah. Not sure if anything changed in the way they're dealing with this since then. I am not using PayPal anymore. When I got my first cell phone when I was 18, I thought I got unlimited nights and weekends. I did not. $200 for the first month. My brother's first cell phone had AIM on it. Turns out every single AIM message counted as a text. His first bill was $600. Our parents were not happy. When I joined the Air Force back in 2003, I had signed up as a 6-year enlistment with an $8,000 enlistment bonus for signing up for 6 years instead of 4. I left for basic training on the last day in September, around 10 p.m. from Seattle, and arrived in Texas sometime in the early morning on the 1st of October. Upon arriving on base, everyone on the plane was rushed to a processing center to re-sign our paperwork. I sit down and start reading my paperwork. Everything that said I had a bonus had been X'd out, of which each required my initials. I had asked what sorcery has just occurred, and apparently the US military fiscal year begins on the 1st of October of every year, and it just so happens that while I was in flight to begin training, they decided that we were no longer eligible because we were not on post before the 1st of October. My first 10 minutes into the military started with a nice big shaft. Not really fine print, but I am sure it was freaking somewhere in there. They also did not allow me to change to a 4-year tour or to change my job choice. Probably no good to know now, but you weren't actually stuck. You could have refused the new terms and left. Both parties have to agree to change the terms of a contract, even in the military. Car rental, only $30 day. The bill ended up being $500 for the rental, and $400 in taxes, fees, surcharges, etc. Plus, I saw the bill and wanted to contest some of the more egregious fees, but figured I would pay it then contest it because I had a plane to catch. Turns out paying the bill is also saying the bill was correct. The only way to contest the bill would have been to keep the car. At the bottom of my college advising form my final semester, it essentially said advisors are not liable if they screw up and advise you improperly, which resulted in my advisor screwing up, and the only person that could legally get blamed was me. So instead of graduating, I ended up being 1 class short. To all current college students, triple check your graduation requirements yourself and make an appointment with your registrar to verify that you're on the right track to graduate. I once took a loan against stock I'd bought with tax deferred money. Months later I get a phone call that my next 2 paychecks were going to be docked $400. I demanded an explanation, and it turns out that even though my HR department received written notice, they failed to reduce the loan repayments from my pay as directed. Now we were approaching the end of the fiscal year and the IRS was looking to get their cut. They were asking if I would authorize either docking my pay $800 in 1 month, or that they could report to the IRS that I'd decided to keep the money and not repay it. I was having none of it. I told them they were going to have to forge my signature because I wasn't authorizing any such action, since either way screwed me over. I was choosing not to participate. Then I got a phone call to report to our company's axeman. They showed me my employment agreement and the terms of the tax deferment and told me to let this one go. The worst part? I had a brand new baby girl and it was her first Christmas and we were $800 short that month. The holidays aren't about money, but I'll never forget those bastards. TLDR. Human resources oversight leads to an $800 catch-up deduction during Christmas. iTunes. I was all set to develop nuclear weapons, but I clicked agree on their terms of service. All that work right out the window. Several years ago, prior to some laws that had yet to pass which made these practices more or less illegal, I had a bank account with a debit card, used it a little too much, overdraft my account and paid $30 for a $1 candy bar. I went to my bank, asked for overdraft protection, and their only option was to open a line of credit with the bank, with the card, of course, and tie it to my checking account. All under the guise of you will never go into the negative and get overdraft charges with this. I overdraft again after this, with 2 transactions. Total overdraft equals less than $10, which instantly performed 2 cash advances of $50 each to my checking account, and charged them on the line of credit with insane interest rates. Lost my job, was unable to pay the hilariously large bill, and now I'm negotiating to pay off a $3,000 debt. Yes, almost entirely interest, for something around $1,500. TLDR, don't ever get involved with anything involving cash advances on a credit card, ever. Bank of America does this crap too. Overdraft protection. Link savings account to checking. If you overdraft, it pulls from savings account. Surprise $10 transfer fee. Overdraw twice, another 10. My ICE telling me that 70% slower speeds than what I pay for is within acceptable limits, and that they will do nothing to speed it up. I once downloaded a program. In the user end agreement, if you scroll down one page it said something along the lines of, you grant full access for, insert program here, to your computer and internet connection. It was a pretty nasty little hiccup in existence, but I got rid of it, eventually. Was at a hotel and was watching TV with friends. A page came up saying that there would be free breakfast in the morning, so I suggested that we hit that up. We ate and a lady came by and gave us a check for $60. I told the lady that this was a free breakfast cause I read it on the TV. The waiter tells us that it was free for people in the wedding rehearsal. I guess I didn't read everything. I stopped at free breakfast I guess. We paid the $60 left. Total fake out. Should have gone all. We're part of the wedding rehearsal, ma'am. Broker may use your funds at its discretion to cover operational costs. Broker proceeded to refuse to let me withdraw my money. Then when I sued them for it, they used my money to defend themselves from my lawsuit, since that was an operational cost. Here's a pretty basic one. Moved into a new place. Decided I needed some beer to crack open while unpacking. Go down to the nearest store, Albertsons. First time ever at Albertsons. Whatever, just a normal grocery store. So I pick up a 6-pack of my usual beer that I get from other stores. Target, food for less, whatever, and see the price. Big $8.99 sign under the 6-pack. It cost $7.99 at the other stores, but whatever. Next to it is a 24-pack for $34. Slightly better deal, but I only want 6. Go to checkout, and total is $14. What the frick, $14 for 6 mediocre beers? I say the price must be wrong, and go back to the sign, in tiny text. When you buy 4, crap, wait a minute, 4 6-packs? So a 24-pack, right? $8.99 x 4 is $36, but the normal price on the 24-pack is $34. So why would anyone buy for 6 packs? Oh, that's right, they wouldn't. That's not why they are on sale. They are on sale to make it look like their beer is normally priced, when instead it is almost 2x the price of everywhere else. Fricked up world, man. The local Rona. I found some linoleum that I liked for my trailer at another Rona. Called the local one and gave them the model number. They offered to bring it in for me. Score. I pick up the lino and pay for it. On the way home I read the fine print on the receipt. All special orders and no refunds, no returns, no exchanges. Ordering a product from another store counts as a special order. Of course it wasn't the right kind of lino when I got it home, and now I can't return it. Still unused in my basement. Damn it. My wife and I went to this cookware presentation by a company called Royal Prestige. Long story short, we wanted to buy the set for the price of $1,700. They told us there was no interest to finance and no shipping cost. I was stupid and signed the paper without reading it because I believed what they were telling us. The interest was like 30% and the shipping was like frickin' $300. When I saw that on my order confirmation, I went to cancel. You could only cancel in the first 3 days. I learned the hard way to read crap before I sign. I once lived in an apartment where my radiator burst. I was on the first floor, so I had 12 floors worth of 180-degree water pouring into my apartment. Both my roommate and I got second-degree burns on our feet and all of our stuff was destroyed. When it went to court, they didn't have to pay us a thing due to a tiny clause in the lease that read the building would not be liable for acts of God, which I had thought meant something like a tornado or a flood. Nope. That's a ridiculous clause. You can bulls absolutely anything to be an act of God. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.